So to mark a line accurately on your wood so you can make an accurate cut, you're going to have to use a couple tools. Some of these tools are in front of you right now. These are called your squares, and there's different types of squares. These two right here are called your combination square, and these two right here are called your speed squares. These are the two that you're going to use most in this class. There are lots of other different types of squares, but these are the two that we're going to focus on. The speed square you're definitely going to use most on a construction site. Always going to have this in the back of your tool belt. It does many different jobs, and we're going to go over that a different day. Just to show you, they do come in different sizes. So we have a 6-inch one, which is a really common one you're going to find on a job site, and then this is a 12-inch one. Okay? Speed squares, a little triangle one, speed square. The one we're going to focus on today are your combination squares. That's these two right here. These are both pretty much the same, they're just different sizes. This is the 6-inch one, this is the 12-inch one. They do come in smaller ones, they do come in longer ones. These are the two that we're going to use in the class. So, what I want you to do now is take a minute and look at this photo, pause it, and fill out the blank spaces on the diagram that your teacher has provided you. So again, this tool right here is called your combination square. It's called a combination square because it does a combination of things. One thing it does, if you look on the blade, right, or the ruler of your combination square, you'll notice that there's measurements on it, right? So I can measure with those. So I'm going to loosen up this knob here. That's going to let my blade slide back and forth, right? And then I could take a piece of material and say I want to know the distance from here to here. I could take this anvil, set it flat against the edge of your material, not cocked like this, you know, or like that, nice and flat. And then I could pull this back till my blade is going to be flush with the edge of that material. Just like that. And then I could tighten this knob down again. Okay, and you could see that I am just over 1.5 inches on that. Okay, there we go. So I could measure with the combination square. So I could also measure the depth of material. So say these two pieces of wood are secured to this table, right? They're not going to move. But I need to know how deep it is from the top of these boards to the top of this table, right? So again, I'm going to take my combination square, I'm going to loosen this knob up so my blade could move back and forth. Take this, I'm going to set the edge of my blade on the table or the surface that I'm measuring the depth of and drop my anvil down so it's sitting flat on the surface here. Then I'm going to tighten up this knob so my blade's not going to move anymore. And now I could see I am at 3/4 inch. So the depth from this surface to the table here is 3/4 inch. Another thing I could do with my combination square is check for level. Some of you might already know this. You see this tube right here with the bubble in it? That's to find level, so see if something's totally flat, right? So if that bubble is in between those two lines, that means whatever you have it resting on, that surface is level, right? So for example, I'm just going to see if this board is level. Okay, so I'm going to unscrew this knob, make sure that my blade is out of the way, tighten it back down, and then I'm just going to set this anvil right on top of that board. And as you can see, the bubble is right in the middle of these two lines. So I know that this board is level. Another thing that a square could do is actually check for square. What do I mean by square? Square is when something is 90 degrees. Okay, so you have a square corner, right? So if you look at this, at your anvil, right? This edge from here to here, that's going to make a 90-degree corner. So it's a square corner. Right? So to check for square, Gonna loosen the knob, blade moves, so I'm just putting out enough blade here so I could work with it. And we're gonna check to see if this edge right here is square. The end of this 2x4 is square. So I'm gonna take the anvil, it's gonna go flat up against this edge. Okay, not cocked this way or that way, right? Nice and flat. And then you could see over here, there's no gap at all in between the board and the blade. So that means we have a perfect 90-degree or square edge. Just as an example, if we take another board, we could check it for square. Take the anvil, place it flat against the edge here, and look over here. See that gap? That means we don't have a square edge. See how it rocks back and forth? So this is not 90 degrees. This is not a square edge. And finally, what we could do with the combination square is scribe a line. We need to make a line in order to make an accurate cut. So today we are going to be cutting these 2x4s to length. I'm building a small shed and I need to cut these to 84 3/4 of an inch. The way we're going to do that, take our tape measure, hook it on to the very edge, bring it down, just like that. Okay, so we need to find 84 3/4 of an inch. Here's 84, remember, just like on our practice packets, we have 84 inches. And then on this particular tape measure, it's very convenient. It has eighths and quarters all marked out for you. Okay, so if we come on here, we have 1/4, 2/4 or 1/2 inch, and 3/4. 3/4. One thing we can do is just make a little tick mark like that at 84 3/4. If you're working alone, that's fine. But the majority of the time when you're working on a job site, you're never alone. You're always working in a group, right? So one of you will be measuring your material, handing it off to another guy, and he's going to be making that cut. Now we have almost an 8-foot long 2x4 here. It's going to be very hard to find that little tick mark if you didn't actually put it there, right? So the way we're going to solve that is by making a crow's foot. Okay, so what we're going to do, come down here, put our pencil right on the 84 3/4 mark, and just make a little mark going that way. Do the same thing, put it back, and make a mark going the other way. Okay, just like that. We have our crow's foot. See how much easier it is to identify than a little tick mark like that? Okay, anybody's going to be able to know where that is. Then we're going to take our combination square, put the anvil flat up against the edge. I like to put my pencil right on the very tip of the crow's foot and slide my combination square gently till it butts up against my pencil. Holding your combination square totally still, scribe a line just down the edge like that. You there? Perfect. So now, I measured from the far end of this side of the line. So that means this side is our waist side. The waist side is the edge that you're always going to be cutting on. Okay? The reason for that, anytime you make a cut, you have to take into consideration the thickness of the blade. So this is an example of a blade that we're going to be using, right? So look at the thickness of it. And if you look at that, that's almost 1/8 of an inch, right? So that's a pretty substantial thickness. And you have to remember, when you're making a cut with this, you're going to be removing that much material from your board. So if I took this blade and I lined it directly on top of our line, right? Or on the good side of our board, say over here, and I make that cut, our board is no longer going to be the 84 3/4 that we need. It's going to be 84 5/8, because that's an 1/8 inch shorter than what we need, because we just removed about 1/8 of an inch. That way, if we measure, or if we lay our blade on the waist side, that's this side, just like that, then when we make our cut, we're removing the 1/8 inch of material on the side we don't need, the waist side, the side we're gonna throw away, right? And we still have our 84 3/4 of an inch left over, what we need. So always cut on the waist side, the side that we're going to be throwing away.